breaking news from King Arthur's court. A stranger has come to join our round table. A troubadour from a far-off land called Hollywood. A troublesome but pleasant varlet they call Sir Bing of Crosby. Let me tell you about it. Wait a minute.
What Bill Bendix is trying to say is this. Paramount makes entertainment history on a grand scale, presenting the outstanding star of our time as one of the best-loved characters of all time, Mark Twain's immortal jester, the Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court.
I have here, Your Majesty, a common, ordinary twig. Presto. Imagine what I could do with a tree.
And all the wonderful characters of the book are here with me. William Bendix as Sir Sagnet, Sir Cedric Hardwicke as King Arthur, Mervyn Vai as Merlin, the mighty magician, Rhonda Fleming as the luscious Lady Alisande.
Let's not wait and hope for something more sublime.
Never has been sung you such rollicking roundelays in such a gorgeous Technicolor spectacle. See King Arthur's Round Table in all its glory. The hilarious mix-up when Camelot goes modern.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about what's called the Middle Ages. And the Middle Ages could be defined pretty much from the 5th century to the 15th century, or the year 500 to the year 1500. Sometimes it's called the Dark Ages or medieval times. Now, the thesis that I'm presenting to you is it was all made up. It was all fantasy presented to you as actual history. Yes, a 1,000-year period. Completely hoax. So this is from Encyclopedia Britannica, and they will say something here that I think is of great importance. So I'm going to read it to you. This sentence right here, in a sense, the humanists invented the Middle Ages in order to distinguish themselves from it. So basically, what that means is that the Renaissance period, starting around 1500, is in great contrast to the 1,000-year period that you know as the Middle Ages, or the Dark Ages, because nothing happened for 1,000 years. Nothing. All right? It's just a bunch of people farming lands that are under the control of a landlord who's under control of a prince who's under control of a king. And nothing happens. There's no developments in science, in industry, and even in theology. So it's like 1,000 years of nothing. Now, what puts me on to this is the movie or the book, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. Now, that particular book or movie is about a man who is in modern times and gets struck on the head. And when he wakes up, he's in this period of time called the Middle Ages. And then, of course, he meets the famous King Arthur. And because he's from the future, he can do a lot in that time period. He was struck on the head. And he wakes up in King Arthur's court.
The glittering pageantry of the battle tournament as Bing duels with an armor-plated killer.
Oh, well, isn't it just a crime? We lie.
Okay, so the author of the book is Mark Twain, or Samuel Clemens. Now, Mr. Samuel Clemens was a major deceiver in hoax history, because Mr. Samuel Clemens will play Andrew Johnson, and this is taken from the work of Dave Johnson. Dave J. will be blending the face of Andrew Johnson, President Andrew Johnson, this one here, with Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens here. And notice you've always saw Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens with a mustache. And of course Andrew Johnson, no mustache. But it's the same dude. So let's listen in on this one as Dave plays some music and blends those two faces for you. Okay, so Dave has shown us by this blending of the faces that Samuel Clemens is Andrew Johnson, president. So what does that mean? Well, if we go back to the book, The Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, then you realize the author of that, who is Samuel Clemens, is a deceiver.
Monster, will you, fat hoot?
What?
Will you joust? Will you venture a passage at arms?
Huh?
Up, dog, and defend thyself. Up, I say.
So all this putting on heavy metal and going off and fighting one another with a bunch of metal on, and people living in subjection completely to a lord and having nothing, it was all invented. Why? So that the rest of the hoax world looks great. It's called the Dark Ages because there was no learning going on, nothing happening. As Sergeant Schultz says on Hogan's Heroes, I see nothing. Well, you see nothing for 1,000 years. It is all the creation of hoaxsters. And we know that this one, Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, is a hoaxer. Samuel Clemens plays Andrew Johnson, president. So if that is true, his book, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, is a way of telling you it's all a dream. The man is struck on the head, and he wakes up in medieval times and meets the famous King Arthur. It is all nonsense. 1,000 years of nonsense. 1,000 years of nonsense. Medieval times did not happen. So I'm going to anticipate a question. And the question I know that's burning in your mind is this. Well, what about all these castles? Well, guess what? They're just like the ancient pyramids in Egypt. They're tourist attractions. They were built throughout Europe as tourist attractions. Now, my guess would be that they were built by Napoleon's army. All right? I'm fairly certain that it was Napoleon's army that built the pyramids in ancient Egypt. Why? To get people to go to Egypt as a tourist site. So all these ancient castles are the same concept. Why? Because the medieval period never happened. It was 1,000 years of nonsense. And you were duped to believe it. I was duped to believe it. I always thought that there was something really, really weird about this period called the Middle Ages, called the Dark Ages, called the medieval times. I always thought there was something really weird about it. How could it be that you find these glorious paintings like this, like everybody's dressed in these colorful robes, and then everybody else is just nothing? Nothing. The only thing that's important are these ones dressed in these robes, the so-called princes, bishops, and knights. And a whole nother subject would be about the game of chess and how that relates to this particular hoax. So I'm going to end the video and say, you've been hoaxed, I've been hoaxed, and anybody that goes to school and is taught this in history has been hoaxed. But there's one who never hoaxes you, and that is the Lord Jesus Christ. You can trust the Lord Jesus Christ. You can't trust these hoaxsters, but you can trust the Lord Jesus Christ. And to Him be all praise and all glory. Thank you for watching. End of video.